Hey, it's Devon from Dipods Precision. I'm here at Lone Wolf Paintball, and I'm here to answer some of your guys' questions.
All right, questions we have. Some are good, some are not, but I'm not here to judge the questions.
Hey, there's no judging going on.
All right.
Just the answers, sweet.
Ryan wants to know, when will he have the ability to install the Xfinity app on his M3S to watch backyardigans? He wants to watch full videos on.
Oh, watch full videos. Man, I don't know when that's going to come about. Having the marker be able to update some of your own individual boot screens is a feat in itself to actually use a lot of the board programs and some of that. But I don't know if we'll see being able to do a streaming TV services on the M3 screen anytime soon.
So it's only bitmap, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Brian wants to know, when will CZRs be back in stock?
Right now, we're not going to be. CZRs will be out of stock until about September.
Oh.
Yeah.
Any major milling changes or anything, or is it just supply and demand?
Just actually right now it's all coming down to lead times of some raw materials that we're waiting on getting. We're trying to change things around to get them as quickly as possible, but September is right now what we're kind of looking at.
Caesar wants to know, what are your thoughts on the new M4? So is there an M4 coming soon?
The M4. I mean, we're always working on a new gun, right? Like you can never not be working on new projects. I mean, whenever we're trying to come out with a new gun, we're always taking in consideration, what's been working, what's been successful in the current platforms, and then what are some of the things that people would like to see done differently. When or if there is an M4, it's definitely going to be some time away, but I'm sure there's going to be some advancements and some things that people have been asking for, because obviously we're always trying to make stuff for ourselves that we want to use, but also that other players will want to use too as well.
Okay, you probably get these all the time, but similar to the CZR, Jake wants to know, when will the die dam be back in stock? So, I mean, that's probably number one. When are we going to get this? When is this coming?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there's a couple things, and it's just on raw materials at the moment with everything going on. Like, we had a good stockpile of them, but we've just burned through everything. So, right now, the dam is looking September as well. And
then, actually, an interesting question is, when will the box mag be able to hold first strike rounds?
Ooh, that is a good question. At the moment, there isn't anything that I'm aware of as far as being worked on to have the box magazine use the first strike rounds. There would have to be something a little bit different just because of the way the first strike round would need to line up into the dam, right? It's not just like a regular paintball where no matter how it gets in the breech, as long as it's in the breech, it'll work. That's definitely a good question. I don't know if we will see that. But definitely something for our engineers to work on for sure.
Okay. I'm gonna butcher this. Beto, B-E-T-O.
Beto.
Yeah. Any chance we'll see a die I6 mask in the near future?
I'm sure in the far future we'll see something, but in the immediate future or the next few years, I don't think you'll see anything change with the i5 goggle per se itself. I mean, the i5 goggle is something that we're really happy with. We're really proud of how it came out, and I don't think that we're going to have a need or see any immediate changes to that anytime soon.
Okay. This isn't a direct question. Ryan posted in here about debating between a Spire IR2 with a spring ramp and a speed feed, or a die rotor R2 with a speed feed. Obviously, you're going to be preferential to the R2, but what I'm curious on is, what would be your selling point to sell the R2 over an IR2?
Well, I mean, when you're comparing the R2 to any of those R hoppers, right? Like, you have the adjustability with the capacity, right? So if you want to hold more paint or less paint, that option's up to you. Also, with the way that the circuit board inside the R2 works, it starts to speed up as you start to use it, but then as you're shooting at a higher rate of fire, let's say you're shooting a gun over 15 balls a second, you're going to have a hopper like a rotor to feed the balls and shoot consistently. With the R2, once it starts going faster, the motor will only go faster, so that way it can't keep up. So if you're one of the things that I always kind of really stress about with even the LTR is that it's the only hoppers out in the market that can consistently keep a high rate of fire going on any gun. So that's there. Also, the fact is that if we're talking about the R2, you have that adjustability, right? But the way the lid, the quick change with the lid, the quick feed, and then the opening of the mouth. I think that's huge, and the way the spring ramp on the R2 is in the back of the gun and not the front of the gun. So a lot of times when you're playing, more times than not, you're going to need that ramp in the back to push the paint forward.
Okay. Similar question from Nova. Kind of sell him why he should get a die LTR over the HK Speed.
I can't say I'm really familiar with the HK Speed hopper. I'm sure it's got its own features that are good in its own right. I can tell you with the LTR, you're not going to have to worry about a hopper, breaking on you, having any issues going down. The LTR or the rotor, it's a pretty indestructible unit. It's really good on battery life. You can use the same 3 AA batteries for a whole year. And obviously too, if you're playing every weekend, every Saturday, Sunday, it's not going to necessarily be as much. You might have to change your batteries once every 6 months. But the battery life on that, and then also too the consistent rate of fire and feed that you're going to get on that one, right? You're not going to get that from any other hopper on the market.
Okay. Bill wants to know, he says, might be the dumbest paintball question anyone can answer, LOL. Will the internals of a die R2 fit inside the LTR shell? Can I take the guts of my R2 and stick them in an LTR and kind of sandbag people?
No, you can't take all the guts. I mean, you can switch out some of the center rotor assembly pieces, but the gearbox and all the other internal parts are unique to the R2, just as those parts are unique to the LTR or the rotor.
Okay. We're going to switch over to the YouTube comments. Let's see here. Jimmy just wants us to know that he met you at Die HQ in San Diego and you're a cool dude.
Right on. What's going on, Jimmy?
Michael wants to know, when are we going to get more Ryzes in stock anywhere? We already kind of touched on that. Red World wants to know, is the Die i5 the best mask to buy?
I mean, goggles is all going to come down to preference. We still have some people in the office that they prefer to use the i4 goggle just because they're smaller and they like that smaller profile that i4 provides. I personally like the i5 goggle myself just because it's more of a full face. It does cover around the ears. Something that I really like is on the foam on the insides is when you put the goggle on, you don't feel any of the foam go against your nostrils to restrict any of your breathing. There's definitely other goggles that you can try on. You don't have the same feel. You're not going to be able to breathe as easy. And then with the GSR pad on the back of the goggle strap, when you tighten the goggle with the turn dial, it pulls the goggle more full across your right and left side of your face evenly. And it's just it's a comfort thing. So yeah, I would wear the i5, and I think that's once you go to a store and try them on and put the different goggles on, you're going to go for the i5 as well.
I didn't appreciate the ratchet strap in the back as much as I did until I tried it, right? Like I'd see it and I'm like, what's the big deal? But I'd be wearing my other masks and trying to pull the strap tighter after a day of play and it keeps loosening. Just being able to go click, 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 click and have it that little bit tighter, or when I'm done to just rotate it and loosen it a little bit. Yeah. That is so nice. Such an underappreciated value, I think. People don't like. Yeah. Wow. I can't say enough good things about that part. Michael, different Michael, wants to know, this is going to be a loaded one. Will there be an M4, a DSR2, a new hopper, a new mask, hoseless entry-level marker, mechanical marker? How about pod packs? Is there any new product in the works that you can even hint at that we'll see in the near future? I know you guys are always working on something.
Yeah, I mean, we're always working on something. I would just say stay tuned. There will be some stuff I'm sure we'll see here in the later months, but just stay tuned. We'll have some stuff for you guys.
Yeah. And if they don't have anything at World Cup, then we'll tell you guys that too. We'll be like, shame on them, right? We're all coming back.
Coming at me with pitchforks and everything. Yeah, World Cup will be good this year.
Big Bad Bronx 72. Devon, love die stuff. Have a die Ryze maxed. What range of pressure do you recommend for this gun? High, medium, low, or extra low?
For the output pressure of your tank, honestly, I would say you can use anything from a high pressure, like 800 psi. You don't really need to use a lower pressure tank with it. If anything, I would say keep it 600 psi or 6 to 800 psi from your tank into the gun, just to keep it running smooth. I wouldn't suggest using a low pressure tank. I mean, you can, but I wouldn't suggest it.
The regulators and the markers do a pretty good job getting it to where it needs to be.
Correct, and the regulator and the CZR is something that's built to take that much pressure going into it. It's meant for the entry level user that's not going to have those different options.
I'm going to throw a question in there just because I just thought of it. So we know the M3 Plus operates at about 130 psi?
The inline regulator is like 125, 120, 125.
Okay, what's the DSR? Do you know offhand?
The DSR, man, I want to say I want to say 115 in my head is what sticks out. I have to go double check that, but I believe it's like 115.
Okay. Moving on. I wanted to bring up that question when we did the video and I forgot about it. Victor, I want to know if they plan on coming out with a blacked out version of the new smoked i5, but with a soft black flex bottom. All right, so he's looking for a special color combination of an i5. Blacked out version with new smoked i5, but a soft black bottom.
So yeah, so with that, the smoked i5, it's got like that translucent.
Yeah,
it is a smoke. Yeah. So it's more of a clear coating. I'm sure as time goes on, we'll see some other stuff come out. With it, and I mean, one thing with that goggles, it's a limited goggle. So with that one, if you like them, grab them now while you can. And if anything else comes out with that in the future, it's also going to be something that's going to be limited. So there's a possibility that we could see something like that here in the next few months. We'll have to wait. Time will tell.
Because it's a little dark in the background, just so people can see.
Yeah.
Because that bottom, is it actually any more flexible than the normal?
So it's slightly.
Yeah. I didn't think it was that big of a.
The biggest thing is it's obviously the color itself, and this is almost a tribute to some goggles of earlier days.
Yeah. No, those are sharp. Bloused Sweets. I looked at getting a set of barrel backs, but everyone is sold out, including Die website. Are you going to restock, or are they gone from the world? Just want a set of backs.
Actually, we just had some ULS backs come into stock last week. I believe we're sold out in the office, but there's some retailers like Lone Wolf Paintball might have some as well in stock, but they go quick. So barrel backs are not something that's done. It's just something that we just can't keep in stock. Every time we get them in, they sell out right away. So as soon as they do come in, I would suggest if anybody's out of stock, I would suggest placing a pre-order with any of your local authorized dealer or Lone Wolf Paintball, and they can get them to you as soon as they're available again.
On the subject of barrels, the ULS, right? What does the S stand for?
Special.
Special?
I mean, yeah, it's just the ULS. It's we've kind of been starting to use that S into different things, right? Where the M3 is the M3S, and we've started to kind of use it into different parts. But
yeah, we were talking about that the other day. Like, what's the S? Special? Is it a throwback from the stainless? Wasn't sure. We're always going to overthink what it could mean.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's see here. Metric methods. Any chance there's an available ETA on replacement boards for the M3 Plus?
M3 Plus replacement boards, we've got those in stock actually.
Yeah, check their website or shoot their
yeah, give us a call at the office. Or Lone Wolf Paintball, I'm sure they can get them for you as well. Or give us a call. We can get you taken care of.
Shadow, will there be a Die Dam 2.0?
I'm sure there will be something like that in the future. I wouldn't say we're going to see something like that in the right away, but we're always got something up our sleeve. We're always trying to work on something.
A new die mask that actually fits people with larger faces. So we've seen a trend. It seems to be the i5s have a smaller profile. I'm not going to say they don't fit a larger face, but they have a smaller profile. The KLR's got a smaller profile now versus like the EVS, which seemed to go the other direction and more like fishbowl. Have you had any issues or hearing from people complaining that they don't fit somebody with a larger head?
I've heard from some people that it doesn't fit, or if it does fit, it rests against their chin and jawline, or it comes really close. A lot of the reason for that is it just makes a lower profile for the goggles, so you have less chance of something sticking out behind a bunker or barricade. Also, with it too, like some people, depend on how they like to rest their head. You know, it doesn't have something pushing against their, like if you rest your goggle on your tank, some people like to do that. If you have a goggle that's kind of bulgy there, it moves the goggle to the side off your face. We've had some goggles that are kind of a more full face, but we haven't really done them to the high end.
Did you guys have what, the Protos?
Yeah, I was going to say the Proto Axis goggle. It looks like a smaller goggle, but with that goggle, you can actually adjust how far out it goes. There's a couple settings on that, so you can actually make it more of a fuller face goggle for bigger guys.
So I think the rule of thumb though is get somewhere where you can try on a couple different masks and see which ones fit your style of play as well as the shape of your head more ideally. Chief 4712, what's next after the M3 Plus? We've been touching on that. You're gonna have to wait and see. Okay, here's one. Philip wants to know, what are some ways that he can upgrade the Ryze CZR? What are aftermarket or even in-house upgrades can you do?
Yeah, so for the CZR, the main thing that you can really do is, if you wanted to, is you can do some different barrel backs to change for the different paints that you might be using. Right now, there aren't a whole lot of other additional aftermarket upgrades. We do have in the works, we will probably be coming out with, and obviously this is going to probably come in line with, you know, the CZR coming back into stock hopefully later on towards the back end of the year, is the feed necks, some different feed necks that you guys can put on in aluminum style, but those will be a little ways away.
Okay. Zed the Mexican Madman wants to know, will there be a die box rotor that works with other mag-fed markers? So I'm trying to think.
So the box rotor does need the DAM magazine well to work on it. There is some modifications that people have been using to use the die DAM box, the die box rotor onto, and I'm going to butcher this, but Planet has a mag-fed gun. I can't think of the name of it right now, but there are some modifications that you can do to the box rotor. It actually involves using a rotor circuit board and the overdrive spring from the rotor gearbox, putting that into a box rotor, so that way you can use the box rotor onto that mag-fed gun. They're not synced together. It's just a mechanic. I believe it's a mechanical gun as well that they have. But you know, that's something that does work because their mag-fed guns do take DAM die magazines. And it all depends on that magazine receiver.
Right, so it sounds like you guys need to make adapters or some new molds so they fit more things. Yeah. So it's always about what will you have soon and never about what you already got. Right?
Yeah, everyone wants more. Everyone wants more.
Yeah, Ethan, more here. Will there be Dipods in the future, and if so, when?
Yeah, and we have the lock-lid pods in stock now. We've been out of stock of the alpha pods here for a little while. We've actually got a shipment that we should see it die here later on this month with the alpha pods. So those will be back in stock, and I'm sure they're going to go as quickly as they arrive. But yeah, they're not done. It's definitely just something we just haven't been able to keep in stock, and when we get it in, it just sells as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Corey wants to know new DSR, new mid-range offerings. Cameron wants to know anything about new products. Really, like I said, guys, he can't release anything until the company says you're allowed to start releasing stuff. Yeah. And unfortunately, he's not going to release it on a Q&A with Lone Wolf Paintball and some obscure.
Yeah, but you know, I never know. We'll have some product releases here hopefully soon, and keep your eyes peeled.
We tried to get him to bring prototypes to hang on the back wall and see if anybody even noticed, but couldn't even do that. Yo SMIG says die or die, you know, the two different spellings.
Okay.
And then we'll end this with lifted image. It's a little bit of a hardball, but I want to see what your stance is. Why is there so much M3S hate, right? If you had to, you know, I love the dye products and we sell a ton of them. So there is a fan base, but I guess in terms of a lot of the other brands, they don't get as much just outpouring of love. You've got your diehards, but I mean, we've seen it even in Michigan. You know, it's been a little harder to get the M3Ss into people's hands to prove how good of a gun it is, right? What do you think the resistance is?
Yeah, you know, I wish I had the answer to that question exactly. I think maybe part of it could be that I think there's some of it that we would get probably more flack on, or people is some of the features like with the ASA, right? Like having the ASA with the turn knob, right? Like people were really unhappy with that. You know, which is one of the reasons why we just, okay, no problem. We've got this slap ASA. We're gonna, you know, put this together and put this on there, right? Like it's some of the other features where I think it wasn't necessarily the way the gun itself shot. It was just some of the other parts that went on with it. You know, like in you know, the M3. Also around that time, I want to say there was some also with the I-pipe. With the smaller paints around that time, there were some different issues with certain paints, that certain paints would work well, certain paints wouldn't. There would be some braking issues. But I mean, I think a lot of it came down to, you know, an airport knob or people not really giving it a chance, because once people did give it a chance, they went out there and played with it, you know, a lot of that stuff went by the wayside. Like, man, this is a solid gun, you know?
Yeah, I think the only thing that you guys don't have to keep up with the current trend is a mechanical frame, and you know, knock on wood, hoping you'll see something along that line soon.
Yeah, I mean, we did just do a full mechanical gun. Okay. That we did a collaboration with the guys over at Free Flow, and you know, that's a whole mechanical gun in itself. So that's a little something different, but obviously it's not a frame that goes on one of our current guns or a current offering for the whole mechanical rebirth that's been coming around. So, but you know, we definitely got a few things in our sleeve that we're working on, and definitely keep your eyes peeled for sure.
Awesome. And Caesar wanted me to ask you where the nickname Boomstick came from, but we don't need to answer that. Nobody really cares.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, Caesar's the reason the Boomstick came around. He was the one that started calling the die at the time. It was a stainless steel barrel. Kept telling Dave that it's the Boomstick, man. Like, show me some more of these Boomsticks, you know. And he kept referring to it as a Boomstick, and the name has still since and stuck. So I actually heard that story not too long ago, and I didn't really know it until recently, and then I made mention of it to Joe and Caesar, and you know, it's just something cool to bring back, and shows how long the guys here have been around paintball. You know, been around the sport.
There you go. Well, we appreciate your time and taking all these questions. You know, we did a bunch of other videos with Devon going through some of the products, the M3, the DSR, the Rotor 2, and the R2 and the LTR. So go check those out if you've already owned some die guns or just curious about the products a little bit more. Of course, shop at lonewolfpaintball.com. If they give it to us, we sell it, so it's in the stock, hopefully. And if not, it'll be here soon. Again, appreciate your time. Go follow Die over on their Facebook page. Go check out their website. They got videos and tech stuff and all kinds of great offerings for you guys to check out if you haven't already. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I just thank you guys for having me out here too. It's been great here in Detroit and seeing everything that's gone on here at Lone Wolf. So definitely not a bad place to be. And if you need anything for any of your die needs or paintball needs, go to lonewolf.com.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.